Senator Rafael Ted Cruz got wrecked by California State Senator Scott Wiener on Wednesday. Wiener went after Cruz on Twitter/X over his interrogation of Adeel Mangi, who was President Joe Biden's nominee for the Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit. Now, wait, what's the issue with Mangi? Well, it turns out, if confirmed, he would be the first Muslim appellate judge in the United States. And of course, when it comes to that whole representation thing...
Can't let that happen.
Now, funny enough, the United States has no religious test for office. So the fact that he is a Muslim shouldn't be disqualifying. But of course, we are talking about Republicans here. So of course, Ted Cruz had to be incredibly offensive going into this confirmation hearing and asking Mangi, quote, "Do you condemn the atrocities of the Hamas terrorists?" Are you kidding me? Now, for one, Mangi is Pakistani American. He's not from Gaza. He's not from the West Bank. He's not from the occupied territories. Why the hell is Ted Cruz asking him that question? Well, it's because he's Muslim. And if you're a Muslim, the right wing thinks that he should answer for every single bad thing any Muslim has ever done anywhere in the world. That's it. What the hell kind of standard is that? But it's the standard that these right-wingers have. It's like, imagine holding every Christian accountable for every single thing, a terrible thing a Christian has ever done. All Christians, doesn't matter. Denomination doesn't matter if you're Catholic, doesn't matter if you're Protestant, doesn't matter if you're this or that, Seventh-day Adventist. You are all the same because you are a Christian and you should be held accountable for the Crusades. That's ridiculous. What? Or you should, or more recent, example, held accountable for bombings at abortion clinics. Every single Christian. No, that's an insane standard. And look, by the way, as Mr. Wiener points out, saying that all Jewish people are responsible for the actions of the Israeli government when it comes to what's happening in Gaza would be ridiculous, right? Now, if somebody said that every Jewish person is responsible for the horrible atrocities that are being committed by the Israeli government to the Palestinians, Ted Cruz would come out and say, "How dare you? You are anti-Semitic." Well, nobody's making that argument, or at least nobody other than like white nationalists, because they blame Jews for everything, would make that argument, though. How he could not see this double standard? Well, maybe it's because he doesn't want to see the double standard. Now, Mangi responded to that question, and he said, quote, "The events of October 7th were a horror involving the death of innocent civilians." Okay. Now, when pressed by Ted Cruz on whether there's any justification for that, if he personally believes, again, this has nothing to do with his job as a judge, but he's like, do you have any justification for Hamas? Mangi said, "I have no patience, none, for any attempts to justify or defend those events." So it's a fairly standard answer, right? I doubt Ted Cruz is going to think that's good enough, because Ted Cruz has already made up his mind. Muslims bad. Automatically. That's it. Look, Mangi has been a victim of a vicious smear campaign by the right wing. And there's a good chance that he will not be confirmed. Because guess what? Democrats have fallen for it. People like Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, Nevada. So she's not going to vote in favor of confirming Mr. Mangi. And again, it's because of, well, he might have ties to radical jihadists or something. No. See, now, here's the thing. Wiener, who is Jewish, stood up for him and said to Ted Cruz, this is straight up Islamophobia. Quote, "This nominee is highly qualified." Ted Cruz grilled him about October 7th. That is no different than grilling a Jewish nominee about Israel's conduct of the war. Are they asking other nominees these questions? Of course not. Only the Muslim nominee. I love that. I really love it when there's some solidarity here. Okay. Now, Cruz responded, though, on X with what you could charitably call an attempt at a joke. And you have to be real charitable for this one. Quote, "Wait, I thought this guy was thrown out of Congress for sending naked pictures of himself." Now remember, he's talking about Scott Wiener, not Anthony Wiener. Okay? Not the same person. All right? Former Representative Anthony Wiener, no longer in Congress, nor are they related at all, in case you were wondering. I know, a poor attempt at a joke. But apparently, their names are kind of similar. So obviously, got to make that joke. Now, Wiener responded saying, "Ted, remember when we went to law school together and everyone hated you?" Pepperidge Farm remembers. Yes, they went to Harvard together. And I do believe that everyone hated Ted because everyone always hates Ted Cruz. So now something that, when I do research, right, about, Ted Cruz, about what people have said about him in the past, a couple things that come up. Number one, he's a brilliant legal mind. And I actually don't have any doubt about that. You have to be in order to rise, up the ranks and to become a United States senator. And he's damn lucky that he is that smart because the other thing that comes up is that he's so incredibly unlikable because he's smug, he's smarmy, and just someone who is just deeply, easily hateable. Yeah. Now, look, I don't know of any other former Harvard students speaking out against Cruz, but I do know about his former roommate from Princeton, Craig Mazin. He had a lot to say about Ted Cruz. In fact, you go to his account, and there's all sorts of things about Ted. Lion Ted, flying Ted, whatever. In fact, ahead of the 2016 presidential election, he tweeted, quote, "Don't you hate it when you wake up and read about your jerk freshman year roommate running for president? We've all been there, right?" Well, good for me. No, I have not. But my favorite was the time after Ted Cruz's account liked the pornographic tweet. You all remember what I'm talking about. Here's what Mazin wrote about that. "Sadly, the fact that Ted Cruz jerks off to mediocre porn spam is the most human thing we can say about him. This is actually his high point." So yeah, Ted Cruz attempting to duck on anyone? Bit of a disaster. And pretty much any other attempt that he makes at a joke, it just never works out for him. Or any public appearance where he's actually out in the public, also never works out for Ted Cruz.